Hi everyone. For today's book review, we're going to be looking at the very rare and very heavy, pardon me, Caravelle, The Complete Story by John Wegg. It's a big book. You could easily take somebody out with that. This book is true to its subtitle. It is the complete story of this iconic aircraft, an aircraft that played such a pivotal role in the early years of jet passenger aviation, and an aircraft that is largely forgotten. And in terms of actual literature in English about it, there is very little, which makes this book all the more valuable, especially for English-speaking readers. What John Wegg has done has compiled the full history of this aircraft type and individual aircraft themselves. The book is chronological. It begins with the dawn of jet passenger aviation, with jet aviation and jet passenger aircraft evolution and ideas within the French aerospace industry. And then obviously we go into its design, construction, and then the frantic attempts to get it sold. We then look at the various variants of the Caravelle, as well as the multitude of fascinating airlines that would end up using this aircraft. It charters the rise of the Caravelle, where in the late 50s and early 60s it was the premier short-range, and we could even say medium-range, passenger jet aircraft, through to its eventual downgrading towards second-tier airlines, charter airlines, and then ultimately it's an involvement either as combi, cargo variants, and even being used among cartels and among some of the less reputable organizations. The last third of this book then looks at the Caravelle with a level of detail that you would expect from Haynes' manual. It's basically a nuts and bolts look at the aircraft, as well as extensive notes and illustrations about the variants as well. As you're seeing up here, this book is extensively illustrated with a plethora of beautifully reproduced black and white and color images. The book pages are very thick, so they're able to absorb a lot of detail from these photographs, as well as plenty of graphics, illustrations, and for those of you who love cutaways and plans, there's plenty of those there as well. There's passenger configurations galore. There's one fold out, not illustrated here, but in the book, sorry, not a fold out, but a 2-page spread of a cutaway of one of the Caravelles, and it's an absolute visual delight. In the extensive appendices of this book, there are details of the various airlines that operated this aircraft, along with tidbits of fascinating information. So, for example, I had no idea that in Jordan, King Hussein was a certified pilot and would occasionally fly the Caravelle, because why not when you're king? In the airline section, as well as in the chapters dedicated to the various airlines, it's also just wonderful to look back at some of these beautiful, now what we would consider retro liveries, back when color was a thing, and everyone has their favorite liveries. I mean, Mexicana looked amazing on a Comet 4, BOAC looked great on Hermes and an Argonaut, Varig looked incredible with a Boeing 707. For me, my personal favorite would be MEA. It's simple, red, beautiful cedar tree on the tail. But again, everyone has their favourite liveries. But the Caravelle, in my opinion, looked especially dashing in MEA colours. At the very end of the book, we also have 20 pages dedicated to all the casualties, to all the aircraft that were lost through various accidents or incidents where the aircraft was just having a bad day and one of its landing gears decided to give up the ghost and the plane went bloop. And these too, some of them are illustrated with photographs of the aircraft looking rather worse for wear. To round everything out, there is a complete catalogue of known airframes that are intact, or noses or elements of the fuselage that have been incorporated into museums. There's one that has been put on a pedestal as a monument. There's another that has been used as a pizzeria, and another one that has been incorporated into a petrol station. Now, in the decades since this book has been published, what has happened to a lot of these? That's a question to be answered. But of course, there are at least 2 airframes that are extremely well preserved and could potentially be returned to running condition. So if you do wish to see a real-life Caravelle, then that chapter in this book also details exactly where you can find them. This book is very hard to find. I was exceedingly fortunate that I was able to get a second-hand copy through EuropeanAirlines.no. They're a Norwegian-based publisher who do some fantastic aviation books. They also had a section on second-hand books, and I was able to get this off them. Check them out. This book is hard to find, but if you are an aviation enthusiast, particularly this type, or just the dawn of passenger jet aviation, then I could not recommend this book highly enough. It is without doubt a 5 captain's hats. It has everything you ever wanted to know about the Caravelle. If you can't find it, or if a copy that you find is outside your budget, because it is quite a hefty book, recently this came out as part of the Legends of Flight series, the SE210 Caravelle by Wolfgang Borgmann. This book, decent, although puny when compared to John Wegg's tome. This book does a good job of summarizing the overall story of Caravelle with some of the airlines and fates. And what's interesting with the Legends of Flight series is it's also got a European focus, so you tend to get a look at these aircraft through the lens of Europeans. My criticism, though, of this one would be that the editors do need to take a better look at the text. There's some repetition. Chunks of text have been copied in chapters, and on a book where you could use that text to add new information and increase value, that is something that should be considered. And in a novel oversight, there's a little note from the author, probably when he saw the first preview of this book, and he said, your photo of this Caravelle is a bit off to the side, the nose cone is missing. That was fixed, but his comment has actually been included in the caption. So this book could do with just the tiniest tweak. However, if you can't get John Wegg's, in terms of availability and price range, this certainly is quite accessible. And if you just want an overall view of the Caravelle, then this will do the trick. However, the ultimate Bible on the Caravelle is John Wegg's tome. I'm not going to lift it again, I'll probably break my arms. And I could not recommend it highly enough. If you can find it, and if you are an absolute devotee to early jet aviation and this aircraft type, do not hesitate, get it and add it to your aviation library.